What is up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about today. Before we get into that, though, I want to make you guys aware, later on tonight, this is going to be 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, 9:30 Eastern. Nice America is going to have a full live stream where they're going to reveal a bunch of stuff for this year. I have a feeling we may see an unannounced game, something like Disgaea 6, for example. That's my hope, is that we see something like that announced there. And then, of course, we'll probably see stuff for the PS4, the Switch, probably the Vita as well, since they're still on the Vita, there's a presence there, and probably the 3DS. So you're going to see really a lot of those systems there, maybe the PC, but for the most part, we're going to see some pretty cool stuff from Nice America. They do seem to have a heavy amount of faith in the Switch at this point with the sales from Disgaea 5. I would expect a big Switch presence there as well. If you're looking for more Nice America games for the Switch, I would check it out. That's 9:30 Eastern time, my time, 9:30 p.m. I might try to stream it. We'll see how things go or shape out from my schedule, but I just want to make you guys aware. We have a bunch of other stuff to talk about. We got to talk about Roller Coaster Tycoon because they put out at least an update to talk about what's going to be on the Switch version. It is happening, by the way. We're pretty much past that point. And then we found out that Nintendo is doing a full rewards program, so we're going to get into that. Let's get started. Yesterday, Nintendo posted on their Twitter, they put it on their webpage, everything. It was all over the place. Nintendo is going to be doing a reward system for the Nintendo Switch that, of course, use gold points or coins, and you can actually trade those in, essentially, for discounts up to 100% apparently of a game. Now you're going to see here, this was listed on their site. It's going to kind of go over the ground rules for how this all works. Starting early March, basically, whenever you buy a digital game on the Switch, you get 5%, at least up to 5%, I should say, back of what you paid, and then you spend those points, you can spend those on a digital purchase of any Switch game, and again, the way this is going to work is it will be different if you have a physical one. So if you buy a physical game, it's in the fine print at the bottom, 1%. So they are definitely pushing more, at least, for you to buy digitally because they get more of a cut. There's no retailer cut in there, obviously. They can't give you as much on that, but what's cool here is it basically expires after a year. So if you buy a lot of digital games, you get money back. 5% is not a ton, but it does add up. You could get to a point where maybe you get a free game a year or something, and that's kind of neat. But you basically save them up, and you want to get them spent before the end of the year, or you'll lose them all. So make sure you spend them. This starts early March, and then you could start essentially, well, even with your physical games, kind of registering and then getting points and everything and use them. I like the idea of a rewards program. While 5% isn't a ton, it's still better than nothing, right? I mean, we've been getting nothing up to this point. So to see that, it's pretty cool. And maybe you'll get a free game this year or something. I get a lot of digital games, so I will probably end up with 1 or 2 free games, and you save up. Maybe they'll offer different things as well, like they have with like the My Nintendo rewards program they had before, where you get skins and stuff. I think I prefer the free game, or at least a discount of some kind. Even half off a $6 game is still good. Next up, let's talk about Roller Coaster Tycoon on the Nintendo Switch. We talked about it a bit in a video a few weeks ago where we talked about how Atari was looking to get investors for this project. After that, they said, listen, we're going to do it. They passed their minimum amount, which was $10,000. They're somewhere in the mid-40s right now since I checked last. I think they're like 44,000 or so, but they are doing it, and they actually put an update out a day or two ago to their investors, really outlining their plans, and it was pretty detailed. They even got down to the resolution and the frame rate in portable mode and docked mode, so it was pretty cool to see. Here's the list here. This is straight off of their update page for their investors. They're going to have 3 different game modes: campaign, scenario, sandbox. Campaign mode is what you would expect. You start up from kind of a smaller park, and then you build up your rides, your money, and everything. Scenarios where they have different objectives to complete, and then sandbox mode means you just go in and you have unlimited resources and you build whatever park you want. They're going to have 7 types of fully customizable roller coasters, which is great. 50 vivid colors to customize rides, roller coasters with. And they have 4 different environments. They have an alpine, oasis, canyon, tropical locales. If you're curious in this case about how they're going to use the different parts of the Switch, they're not really at least detailing as much. They say intuitive Joy-Con or touchscreen controls. Nothing really about what they're going to do with the Joy-Con. Maybe they have a mouse pointer you can use from the what we've seen before, where it kind of simulates what the Wii can do. And then at the bottom, not only does it have multiple save slots, which is actually really cool because they don't overwrite someone's save if you want to do that. Although if you switch accounts, kind of the same idea. We'll run at 1080p at 30 frames docked and 720p 30 frames in handheld mode. So it sounds like they're going to shoot for the full resolution, native resolution of either one at 30 frames per second. That is a good thing because, again, this is obviously in this case, a real-time simulation RTS where you're kind of looking down at everything you're doing. You do want a better resolution so you can read the text better, see everything that's going on. I like that they're shooting for native resolution across the board, although I don't think Roller Coaster Tycoon is a super demanding game. I remember back in the day it was harder on your CPU overall because, well, there's a lot of stuff going on. Back then the CPUs weren't very good. If you had a dual-core processor, you were considered a top of the line right there. Talking dual-core then, guys. I would like to see this. I would like to see this happen. I don't really know completely when this is coming out. They've given us windows, but we're still waiting to see if they ever come up with a complete release date. I assume in the next couple months maybe, but at least they outlined it to the point where I'm like, okay, this could be good. I hope it works well and it's not buggy like the Steam version. That's the big question now. Next up, let's talk a bit about Kingdom Hearts 3. I haven't had a chance to really talk about it all because nothing's really happened. We're still waiting for a release date, any new worlds or anything. The Toy Story reveal was really cool. We all remember that well. It's awesome to see. And then they tell us 2018. Cool. They're doing a lot of these D23 events, or they have their convention for Disney, and they always have Kingdom Hearts stuff there, and they are having a fan event this Saturday in Japan. So February 10th, they're going to be doing this, and it looks like it's set up for the afternoon, and a lot of people are asking questions. Are we going to see anything when it comes to a new world? That seems like the most likely thing they could really show there. They may not show anything, to be honest. This might just be something where people get together, hang out, talk about Kingdom Hearts 3, their excitement for it, I guess. I would like to see something revealed, anything. A new world seems great. I wouldn't count on a release date. If they're going to do a release date, probably E3, and it'll be for this holiday season. It better be 2018. They already told us 2018, so I'm expecting it to be, but maybe a new world, maybe new character concept design or something. So I would keep an eye out for any Kingdom Hearts 3 news this weekend because they're having their fan meetup at the convention, and sometimes you get some cool little leaks or some Q&As end up having some stuff kind of spill out. So I guess keep your ear to the ground for any Kingdom Hearts 3 news this weekend. Next up, I want to talk a bit about Final Fantasy 7 Remake, because there are some things here that concern me. We had some news come out that at the Final Fantasy 30th anniversary, they had this really cool exhibit, like this art gallery almost, where they showed off some concept art, and they showed off a new look for Cloud, and no pictures are coming out from here, but apparently they have completely redesigned the character that we saw in the previous trailer, and I guess even the trailer that showed like the combat and everything. Apparently they've completely redone his character design to be more like the original is what they're saying. Even quotes Cloud as being more of a dork rather than, the guy who's super in control and looks serious. He kind of describes him that way. Now the way I know Cloud at this point, I think most of us do, is from I guess at Advent Children. I mean, that's where we all know him from. So I don't know what they're talking about as much here. I don't think he's going to show up with like the Popeye arms or anything from his PS1 version. But what's interesting to me here is we don't really hear anything about it. Well, they have a great chance here to show us a concept design that we can look forward to. Nothing. I mean, it's really 2015 was the last time we got an awesome look at this. And then we got that trailer for the battle sequence, so I will say that. But after hearing about all the internal struggles where they have to bring in the Final Fantasy Mobius director, bring him in, change up really leadership within the group that's developing this, it's a little concerning, and I'm starting to wonder, are we sure this is a PS4 game? Because I'm starting to get hints of what happened with Final Fantasy 13 Versus. Do you remember that? When that game was coming out, and then it turns into Final Fantasy 15, and then finally it shows up last year in 2016, I should say. So I'm a little concerned right now because originally Final Fantasy 15 was supposed to be a PS3 game. Moves to PS4. Are we 100% sure about this? Because it seems like they're not letting people show this design, which makes me think that it's either not a 100% concrete design, or it was just an exclusive for that event for the people that show up, or they're doing a big reveal at E3. That's the one I'm hoping for, but I'm a little concerned. They're still messing around with character designs. Like, that's, I don't know. I'd like to think this episodic game does come out, but it's an episodic game, so there's episodes. they can't put this out in the last year of the PS4. I don't know, you guys are gonna let me know about this, what you think about this down in the comments, because I'm getting more and more concerned that the PS4 that I have isn't gonna be the system playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. It might be a game that gets pushed to like 2021, 2022, and we're playing the first episode on our PS5 at this point. I'm hoping E3 this year proves me wrong though. Next up, let's talk a bit about Mario Kart Tour on the mobile systems. We heard Nintendo talk about this on Twitter where they said, hey, the new mobile game based around Mario Kart is going to be coming out sometime before the end of next fiscal year is what they're saying. So we're looking for it, I guess, either up until the end of this year or up until the end of April next year. So it's a little ways out, but here's the thing. We've been wondering, is it going to be free to play, or is it going to be kind of like Mario Run, where you have to buy it once and that's it? It looks like it's going to be free to play, although the wording here is still not super concrete. So here's the tweet here saying, DNA CEO said Mario Kart Tour, a Nintendo DNA smartphone game planned for fiscal year 18, will be free to start. And that's of course from Takashi Machizuki. We've been following him for a while since the Switch was first being announced and shown off and things were really leaking out and everything. He of course works with the Wall Street Journal over in Japan, and according to him, it's free to start. But technically, if you look at something like Mario Run, that was free to start, right? You could play like so many of the first couple levels, then you have to pay. So you could download it and play it, and it was free to start, but you still had to pay money for it to get through a paywall. That could still be what Mario Kart, this Mario Kart Tour game is, where maybe you get a couple tracks free and then you gotta pay through it, or maybe it is just straight up free to play and then they just hit you with microtransactions like pretty much every cell phone game. That seems to be the way to go to get the most money. I think we all understand this at this point. Nintendo has to get it now because Fire Emblem is absolutely destroying it in terms of money compared to the other two. Things like Animal Crossing and Mario Run, yeah, Fire Emblem is going to make more money than either of those two at this point. I think that's pretty clear cut. Animal Crossing is at least doing okay, and it probably will end up making more money than Mario Run simply because it has microtransactions that will last. If they keep updating it, it eventually will pass the $10 per person that really Super Mario Run gets them. So I think they understand. Listen, the straight up $10 per person doesn't work in mobile games as well as it's free, and then, you know, start taking your credit card out for things like fuel or better tires or I guess even a better engine or who knows. I have a feeling it will be like that though, just because it makes more sense money-wise. But let me know what you guys think about this, and if this quote means free to play or kind of free to play, you just need to pay after really a demo. And our last bit of news, let's talk a bit about Activision. Activision Blizzard had their conference call, they released their financials, and it was kind of to the dismay of a lot of people because what they talked about making a lot of money on is not really what a lot of people wanted to hear about, because all it's going to do is push them further and further towards microtransactions, because they made an absolute killing. I'm not even kidding, a ton of money here. They talked about making over $7 billion for the past year, and microtransactions made up over $4 billion of that. And I should say just microtransactions, in-game purchases. That does include map packs, for example, for Call of Duty, DLC, but they seem to put a big emphasis on recurring revenue from microtransactions. That seems to be just working really well for them. I mean, think about things like Overwatch with their loot boxes, for example, Destiny, they talked about that. It's just, that seems to be the way that games are going. As much as maybe hardcore gamers are people who are really in the know, go online and look stuff up and talk about this, they might not like microtransactions, but the casuals do. Casuals seem to love these things. They can't get enough of them. They just keep jamming more and more money, and before you know it, they're spending hundreds of dollars on something that's supposed to cost $60. Again, I talk about this all the time. I think Activision, any of these big companies that do a lot of these microtransactions, they should really consider lowering the prices on some of these games for the entry point, because they're making tons of money anyway, and the more people that buy the game and play it, the better. So if games start going down to $30, maybe $20, they would actually get more money because they'd get more money from microtransactions. So while they're a little short-sighted now, I have a feeling that's probably going to be the strategy. You're going to start seeing some of these games maybe fall from that $60 price. They're just making so much money here that they'd make more money if they started dropping prices on this stuff. So you guys let me know about this, because this seems absolutely insane to make that much money on in-game purchases. Now, they also talked about how they want to make a bigger presence in the mobile sector, pretty much. So, of course, for cell phones mostly. And they're talking about how they have two different subsidiary companies now working on Call of Duty to try to get that out for this year now. Now, we heard about this midway through 2017. They're talking about it. But yes, 2 Call of Duty games. They're trying to get them out, but they don't want to push them too hard. They want to try to make sure everything is right, and then they're going to put them out. And it probably will be microtransaction type games because that's what they love, but it'll probably be free. So look towards that, I guess. Call of Duty on the phones. I don't know how well it's going to work with touchscreen controls for aiming, but hey, maybe they can make it work. People love microtransactions on cell phones, so I wouldn't be surprised. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, guys. Really helps out. If not the dislike, leave a bunch of comments down below about everything we talked about today. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about Nintendo's rewards program coming to the Nintendo Switch. Maybe you're happy that all of these digital purchases you're going to be making going forward gets you 5% back and you can take a nice chunk out of a game, or maybe an entire game altogether. Maybe you think 1% on physical isn't enough because that almost seems like it's not even worth punching the code in for, to be honest. I mean, what's that, 60 cents on a $60 game or whatnot? And that does seem like a small amount of money for the time going through to punching your codes. But hey, I guess every little bit counts there. I guess if you get enough 60-cent, vouchers together, you get some DLC. Also, let me know what you think at this point about Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and if you think it is a PS4 game, or if you are also starting to think, wow, the life cycle on the PS4 is kind of coming up to its end soon. I wonder if it is just going to go to the PS5. Maybe it'll be one of those games that is on both when it comes out, right? It's on both systems. It just looks and runs way better on the PS5. Let me know your thoughts about that. I will see you on Monday. Have a good weekend. Get out, play some games, and I'll see you Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for more Newswave.